Thank you, Brandy. Thanks to the panel. I am going to set a timer so that we stay on time. As Brandy said, I am Tyler Valentine. I'm the president and CEO of StagePoint Federal Credit Union. We're headquartered in Laramie, Wyoming. I'm 116 million in assets, so small credit union. To my small credit union partners in the room, as we talk about collaboration, the one thing I'll say is leaning into the shared services model, looking for ways to collaborate to get the pricing that we need. To my large system partners or large credit unions in the room, if you want to find a sustainable way to ensure that small credit unions exist, bring us into your negotiations in your core and card contracts. My cost per member is exponentially larger than yours, so my baseline cost to operate is prohibitive almost to my business model. And that has to do a lot with so-called system partners that in fact can be predatory in that nature. So really encourage you to look at options around card and core, and especially in the shared services model for collaboration. So I have an extraordinary panel up here. I'm going to start with Vince Passione with LendKey. Vince, you're in the lending space, right? That's your segment here. Talk to us about where credit unions are missing the mark when it comes to lending, and what strategies do they need to ensure that the next 20 years they're successful?
Sure, thank you. Well, first, thank you. Thanks to Sue and to Brandy. This is my second underground. The first one was in Vegas. We actually were underground, so I'm really glad to see where now we can be above ground, so I like that. I really do. And thank you, Tyler, for not calling me Mr. Passion, because that usually gets me lots of really interesting looks in the airport. So our business, we're in the lending business. I have 400 clients. All of them are credit unions. I have maybe 2 banks that we don't talk about that often. And if I look at my clients, they actually look like the credit union demographic, right? 67% of credit unions are under 250 million, and that's who my clients are. So when I look at this business, the first thing I'd say is there's a definitional discussion. I hear this word fintech thrown around all the time, and there are vendors and there are fintechs. A fintech, to me, is someone who actually goes out and uses technology to try to do what you do and actually compete with you. A partner or vendor is someone who supplies you with capabilities so you can do what you do. Now, earlier, one of the panel participants said, credit unions need to learn how to organically make a loan again. In the last 5 years, I've watched more credit unions buy fintech loans, right, and put them on their balance sheets. And I don't really understand why that's happening, right? So I think the definition of what is a fintech, right, and what is a vendor partner that's going to work with you to enable you. So now that we have the definitions right, let's talk about models. About 14 years ago, we started collaborating with credit unions, trying to figure out how to really give them access to markets. And we came up with this interesting model that we kind of call network lending. And it's actually what you all have been doing for a very long time, which are loan participations. And the idea was, and what the credit unions came up with, and they were mostly at that time, there were 26 credit unions who were under $100 million in assets each. And they said, look, we don't have enough capital to access all the various point of sales that we want to get to. So what do we do? So they agreed to come up with a commonly branded loan, commonly underwritten, and commonly priced. And they put it in the market. And what they did is they originated for their members, they acquired new members, and then they immediately syndicated the risk across all the participants in the network. So earlier we had a panel discussion, and then the comment was, larger credit unions should help smaller credit unions. Well, this is a great model. Technology is very expensive. JP Morgan Chase is going to spend $15 billion on technology this year. Okay, they're the biggest bank. Well, guess what? PNC is going to spend $3 billion. Collectively, you're going to keep up with that? You can't, right? But using the collaborative model and saying, why wouldn't you commonly brand, commonly underwrite, and commonly price a loan, and then leverage the wisdom of all the people in this room, the wisdom of the crowds to deliver that solution? You will lower the price of technology, you will lower the cost of implementation, you'll leverage all your collective knowledge, and you'll be able to deliver the kind of services that you like to deliver to your members. So secondly is embedded finance. Embedded finance is coming faster than we all expected, right? You go to the point of sale, and now you can check out, and you're not going into a branch anymore. You don't even know about the credit union. How do you get access to the point of sale if you're a credit union that's $10 million in assets, and that's one of my clients, and the answer is a network lending approach to collaborate. It is part of what you do all the time, right? You've been doing this since you were founded. So this concept of aggregation, how do we aggregate up the costs? How do we aggregate up the knowledge and deliver services to the market and reduce the cost? Because technology is now becoming much more expensive than it's ever been. Look what it's going to cost to deliver AI, right? Quantum computing comes out, it's going to be super expensive to be in this business. So you have fixed costs. And guess what? NIM is shrinking. Cost of funds have doubled since I started supporting this industry. Some people say they've tripled, but you still have fixed costs. The only way you're going to reduce them is by organizing yourselves in these kinds of consortiums, and they can be CUSOs or they don't have to be CUSOs. But the idea is, how do you create shared products, a shared product, put it in the market, and by the way, especially in embedded finance, you could lower your cost of acquisition. The idea of a marketplace and going to a marketplace and putting your loan there, unless you're a very, very large credit union, that marketplace isn't going to do business with you. You just don't have enough capital. But if all the folks in this room aggregated their capital up and went to a marketplace with one loan, commonly underwritten and commonly priced, guess what? They would take notice, and you would lower your cost of acquisition. So my themes on what credit unions could be doing differently is actually just do what you used to do, right? Leverage a model, your loan participation models, which to me is just syndicating risk, and just organize it slightly differently. Think a little bit differently about it, leverage some of the larger credit unions, build a common loan, and aggregate up your collective buying power. That's what I would do.
Thanks, Vince. And we're running behind on time. Erin, with insurance and marketing, right, with Franklin Madison. So obviously from an insurance perspective, is there opportunities for credit unions to have diversified revenue streams through that model? And then from a marketing perspective, we talk a lot about telling our story, and is it working? Is it not working? What makes you CUSS when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, thank you. Long-time attendee, first-time speaker, so thanks for having us. I'm really happy to be here. Maybe I'm not on. Thank you. We just switched. What makes me want to cuss? My team knows this, but I have 4 kids and 5 dogs and a husband, so I've got a lot. But when I think about our industry, it really comes down to we do a lot of talking. We don't do a lot of doing. And I got in this industry almost 30 years ago. We talked about our aging demographic. We talked about the cost of technology, and we talked about banks. And here we are talking about the same exact things. But what we forgot to think about was the other competition, and that's digital banks. And they have come in, and they are taking our members. And so what I would say to you is the new 4-letter word should be SoFi. In 2024, they grew by 2.5 million customers. They surpassed 10 million customers last year. They grew their revenue by 24% and their products by 32%. Mike Lawson asked me, well, how does that matter to Franklin Madison? Because SoFi is getting into insurance. Why? Revenue. That's going to let them continue to innovate and evolve. And the second thing is because they don't want anyone leaving their ecosystem. They want to be the one-stop shop. Research shows 44% of consumers want insurance through their financial institution. It's up from 33% just 3 years ago. The largest groups, the younger demographic, and high wealth, high income consumers. That's who we want, but they don't come to us. I know a lot of you are looking around saying, well, we offer insurance. And if you look on your website, it is buried on a page. But you are not actively engaging them. 48% will tell you they have not gotten an insurance offer from their financial institution. So when I think about what we need to be doing better, Financial Health Network does a great job with their pillars: save, spend, borrow, plan. The first 3 I think we do well. Where we're missing the boat is the planning piece. That could be financial education and financial literacy, wealth, or where Franklin Madison talks about insurance, that protection piece. We're really missing that. So I know we're short on time, but I have to say this, I think we need some hype. We need to get excited about things. So is anyone a hockey fan other than Zach? right? Okay, Four Nations face-off just happened. They talked a lot about the 1980 hockey team, right? So we won the gold with all of these, you know, college students. And one of the best quotes from that is, great moments are born from great opportunities. We have the opportunity. We need to figure out what those great moments are. Thanks.
Absolutely. And my own brother banks at SoFi, so I agree. Four-letter word.
Yeah.
Dan, wrapping it all together from a strategy perspective, right? It's Chief Strategy Officer. This is what you're living and breathing every day. So when you're looking at the future and positioning credit unions to make sure that we're relevant and thriving, what are you looking at for credit unions first, and how do you make sure that that strategy aligns with where the consumer is going to be?
Well, for those of you in the audience that know me, you know I'm a nonconformist, so I'm not going to directly answer that question.
Okay.
Because I have a
Do whatever
message
you
I
want.
think everyone wants to hear, and that's why we're here to talk about what makes us CUSS. And as Chief Strategy Officer at Credit Unions First, our CUSO goes about making these changes with a members first mindset. We all have to remember that we are here to work for the member of the credit union. And sometimes we lose sight of that with the programs that we have in place. And one of the programs that we have in place, as in majority of credit unions, is automobile force-placed collateral protection insurance programs. And I don't think anybody in the audience that's familiar with those programs would say that's in the mindset of our philosophy of people helping people. And from a standpoint of engaging the audience, could I get an honest show of hands of credit unions here that have a force-placed program in their shop? Anybody? I know it's got to be more than that, because probably 80%, so let's honest answers. Of those folks that raise their hands, most of the contracts that you have with your current providers has something called the premium deficiency endorsement on it. Does any of the folks in the room understand what that endorsement means and the impact to your bottom line? No. So just really quick, it's quick and easy. That endorsement carries with it a loss ratio. Sometimes it's 50 or 60%, and you sign that agreement stating when your loss ratio hits a 60% ratio, you're going to treat some of your members differently than you treated members below that loss ratio. So let's just use an example. You have a member with a $6,000 loan balance. Sorry, first time up here, so a little nervous.
You're good.
They let their insurance lapse for some reason. Why did they let their insurance lapse? That's one question you should ask yourself. Secondly, typically the premium is about 20% of the outstanding balance, so you're going to add $1,200 to that loan balance. Let's skip ahead 6 months, you repossess that collateral. The credit union's loss ratio is 58%. They can then file a premium deficiency claim and get that other $600 paid back on the member's loan. Fast forward a few weeks, they have some losses. Their loss ratio is now at 62%. If that same member had their vehicle repossessed, they wouldn't have that $600 put back on their loan. So how are we treating those two members in the same vein favorably? Little exercise. Can I get everyone to raise their hand and hold it up there for a minute? Okay. This afternoon, your trusted financial provider, Dan Daggett, is going to call you. And I'm going to ask you to write a check to me for $10,000 for a program you might be interested in. And no, keep your hands up there. Keep your hands up there. All right? And I'm going to tell you, in 12 months' time, if everything goes well, I'm going to send you a check back for $6,000 of that 10. Are you going to write me that check? If you are, keep your hand up. Nobody. Why are credit unions writing that exact same check on their members' behalf? If you wouldn't write it personally, why would you write it for your member?
Appreciate it. Great perspective. So Jen, my fellow compatriot on the Worldwide Foundation for Credit Unions board, you've done everything from credit union rescue to small credit union management, now leading a larger relative to my $116 million credit union. What are you thinking about from all of these things, right? We have lending, we have marketing, we have insurance, we have strategy, we have treating the members equally across the movement. What are you thinking about, and what makes you CUSS? Because I know you can.
Yes, I can. First of all, just to start out, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. The size really doesn't matter. All the things that we've been talking about today, just right here on this panel right now, insurance, home ownership, the lack of it. We have so many challenges, and it doesn't matter the size. Solving those big, huge problems is really, really tremendous. And it takes a tremendous effort from all of us, and it takes us all to do it together and have a different conversation around it. I was thinking about the beginning of this year. We have this crazy slurry of administration changes, the reason we're all here today at GAC to make a difference. The insurance breakdown of our systems. In California, we had the wildfires that just took out generations of wealth for hundreds of our members, and it's really, really depressing. We have lawsuits. We have all this crazy narrative happening right now, and it's everything all at once for sure. And I say, WTF. Stop the madness. Like, we have got to lean in to the things that we can control. What I can control is my members in my mind first. We're going to solve problems for the members who need us the very, very most. And by the way, we talked a little bit about that earlier in the panel today. If half of the Americans can't afford $400, right? Half. That's super scary. If half the Americans can't afford that, then half of Americans are on the brink of poverty. And we talked about that as a bad word, poverty. But why not change the narrative? Why not hit that straight in the face and say, we are here to change poverty? Like, those are big words. And I know it sounds scary, but this is how we can be really, really relative as credit unions in this space. We are here to help the little guy, right? We're here, the little guy doesn't have to be little. The little guy could be making six figures or millions of dollars, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. We have an opportunity to change the narrative and do something radical. And what is that going to be? I think we can go out and we can change the world, but we got to do it together. And what I'm thinking about is how we have that real honest conversation and talk about all the things we can control. There's a lot we can control. Part of it's going to happen just starting this week when we start to talk to our legislators about what the credit union difference is. So, you know what? In this crazy world of everything all at once, I'm actually more optimistic than I've ever been. Because what? You lean in with the things that drive you, right? You lean into what is right. And what is right is, God damn it, credit unions are right. And we deserve to be here, and we're going to work together to make this all happen.
Damn, mic drop. Thank you to my esteemed panel. Appreciate your perspectives. Have a great week here in Washington. Thank you.